Our moon, as small as it was compared to Earth, has 5 times the mass of Pluto.
People's imaginations were abruptly caught by the James Webb Space Telescope. We are aware that we could need to alter the entire universe's past. The furthest object in the solar system is the dwarf planet Pluto. Hundreds of thousands of small planets and asteroids call this area of the Kuiper Belt home. Pluto was named after the Roman deity of the Earth, Pluto, and was originally regarded as the 9th planet in the solar system. But in 2006, Pluto lost its standing. Over the past several decades, there has been a significant expansion in our understanding of the cosmos, and we now have a solid understanding of how the world functions, what it is comprised of, and if it is feasible, inherit humanity's future. However, there could still be more to learn about our galaxy's stars. Which enigma surrounding Pluto was ultimately resolved by the James Webb Space Telescope? Is he ignorant of life? Does it include an ocean? Come along as we examine the astounding and enigmatic findings revealed by the James Webb Space Telescope on Pluto. Its moon was the tiniest in the solar system, yet no one noticed. Nobody finds it bothersome that its orbit is elliptical and tilted. Weird as Pluto may be, it's our craziness. It's little enough for kids to understand. Her circumstances could be considered difficult by many grown-ups. Not surprisingly, when Pluto was designated as a star 15 years ago, the people was incensed. Pluto was taken from the list after the International Astronomical Union updated its definition of a planet. The modification procedure stipulates that the Earth has to possess 3 qualities. It needs to spin around the Sun. Pluto is a dwarf planet since it failed the 3rd and last test. When Galileo first saw Jupiter via a telescope in the 1600s, everyone believed that any enormous object orbiting the sky was either the Earth or the Moon. In the 1800s, when astronomers first found the rocks that we now refer to as asteroids, they also named them planets. Pluto was first regarded as a planet. He is presently employed by Flagstaff, Arizona's Lowell Observatory. Tombaugh informed the inspector of his observations right away. "I've located you, Planet X," he said. Beyond Neptune, Tombaugh mentioned a 9th planet that is believed to circle the Sun. An object only 1/10 the breadth of Pluto's orbit was seen in 1992 outside Pluto's orbit. Since then, the coldest area outside of the solar system, the Kuiper Belt, has yielded approximately 2,000 solid objects. There could be more. What connection does Earth have with these odd planets? What caused them to awaken? Astronomers were suddenly perplexed as to how the planet came to be. He found the first object in the Kuiper Belt that seems bigger than Pluto in 2005. These ices originated in the early days of the Sun and planets. According to Brown, Senna ought to be the 10th planet if Pluto is the 9th. However, Pluto also doesn't deserve to be Earth's satellite if Senna doesn't. The investigation was carried out during the Prague conference of the International Astronomical Union. On the final day of the August conference, a vote was held on the updated global definition following lengthy deliberations. Pluto and Senna were designated as minor planets. The Greek goddess of strife, Eris, is now called Senna. This moniker makes sense considering how significant it has been in altering our perception of the Sun. Articles are immediately updated and published. However, a lot of geoscientists haven't altered their strategy, particularly those who are studying Pluto. The International Astronomical Union's definition of a planet is still debatable for valid reasons. To get this knowledge, researchers study a lot of books and papers. There are newspapers dating back hundreds of years. They explain the many meanings of world that the public and scientists use for a variety of unclear reasons. This may be observed in the asteroid belt that lies between Jupiter and Mars. After its discovery in 1801, Ceres and Pluto were classified as planets. As new objects are discovered in the asteroid belt, Ceres is reportedly losing its classification as a planet. Astronomers discovered that Ceres had hundreds of neighbors by the late 1800s. The tradition goes that when Ceres disappeared from view, she lost her worldly rank. Pluto and Ceres have the same destiny. Meyer's group now acknowledges that this is untrue. Ceres and other asteroids were still regarded as planets, or even asteroids up to the 20th century. Thousands of planets are known to circle the Sun, according to a 1951 scientific journal article. However, it's crucial to keep in mind that the bulk of these planets are asteroids, which may range in size from the size of a city block to that of Pennsylvania. For the first time, they were visible from the plane. The planet still seemed like one of the biggest asteroids at that time. Many of the smaller ones, however, are unique. They are not smaller than the bigger planets. As demonstrated by this, you may wonder, what about the Moon? Scientists referred to it as a planet or subplanet until the 1920s. Remarkably, the Moon is still regarded to be a planet despite scientific proof to the contrary. This change in opinion is attributed to non-science media like astrological almanacs. These books' indications are based on planetary alignments. Astrologers claim that it is simple to comprehend why there are so few planets in the sky. In education, the term lost has resurfaced since 1960 in a broad context that encompasses the Moon. To put it briefly, the IAU did not create the definition of Earth. The word's meaning has changed significantly throughout time. It will thus alter once more if required. If the cosmos had hundreds or thousands of planets, how would your life be different? Who are these folks that can recall all of this? What ought to be included in our lunchbox? However, Mill was worried that narrowing the attention to only the 8 planets would keep people from discovering more about the globe. After all, the meaning of the world can just be subjective. There are methane ice flakes as tall as houses on the dwarf planet, and there are nitrogen cliffs that resemble the untamed coast of Norway. More cracks than the Grand Canyon and frozen volcanoes taller than the Himalayas abound on Earth. Millions of fans worldwide were astounded by the footage taken by the plane's camera, which showed what looked to be a massive heart orbiting the Earth. It had been 8 years since the tragedy. Still, they have a fresh perspective on the world. At its closest to the dwarf planet, New Horizons was only able to get precise photographs of Pluto's side facing the Sun due to its speed of 32,300 miles per hour. One of them had been out of the shadows for some time. Scientists are now examining photos of the plane's opposite half, or one side, after examining close-ups from the days prior to takeoff. These photos vividly depict the terrain with up to 1 kilometer of detail, despite their poor resolution. Compared to photos captured by the Hubble Space Telescope while in Earth orbit, this is 250 times more. Scientists are learning new things about this dynamic environment by examining hundreds of photos. These discoveries raise issues about things like whether the seas are covered in ice and how substances from the sky freeze to form the Earth's surface. Even the theory that life may exist on a cold Earth is supported by statistics. For instance, ice cubes that resemble skyscrapers were discovered lately on Pluto's far side, but they now seem to encircle the planet. Its beginnings are therefore among the most enigmatic of the minor planets. This gift has no expiration date. Eventually, in 1996, the Hubble Space Telescope helped scientists discover data about space at a resolution of 310 kilometers. Though hazy, the pictures depict a planet-like body with a density greater than that of Earth and other planets in the solar system. Pluto's power was confirmed in July 2015 when New Horizons saw a heart-shaped star north of the equator. Located in Pluto's left ventricle, Sputnik Planitia is a frozen lake surrounded by massive glaciers that is now recognized to have a major effect on Pluto's energy. Pulses of sublimated ice ascend into the sky as the sun warms the plains, only to descend again at night. Pluto may be beaten by the pulse as well. A peculiar observation was made by Francis Nimmo, an Earth scientist from the University of California at Santa Cruz, and his associates regarding Sputnik Planitia. The first picture of Pluto was delivered to Earth shortly after it was taken, and it showed Charon, the planet's biggest moon, nearly exactly above Pluto. Typically, the chance of an accident is 5%. Rather, models indicate that once the basin created, The seabed started to rise on its own. Ice craters form when nitrogen in Pluto's atmosphere condenses and freezes. The existing relationship between Pluto and extra water and ice is the product of heavy lifting. The disorganized, jumbled hills, fractures, and plain to cross from Pluto's Sputnik plains provide some of the finest evidence. Scientists think that a comet or asteroid collision across Mars, Mercury, and Europa, one of Jupiter's moons, caused a seismic sweep. Similar to Pluto's ice moon Charon, these earthquakes shatter surfaces until they ultimately clash near the horizon. The characteristics were comparable to ones observed elsewhere in sunlight, according to Oliver White, a geologist who analyzed the geology of the isolated location, but was not involved in the study. However, White noted that the image was smaller. The majority of other scientists concur. For a very long time, scientists have hypothesized that after Pluto formed, its water started to cool and eventually froze. Its rocky core eventually releases enough heat from radioactive decay to dissolve it. Ice shrinks and causes surface ripples when it melts. If this is the case, Pluto's face with skin and stretch marks will be seen in the finished pictures. But all that was photographed by New Horizons were the fissures. This implies that the oceans of the dwarf world were formerly liquid, but are currently partly frozen. Images of Pluto's far side, for instance, reveal a massive crater that is the same height as the adjacent Earth. It has spread to the point where it now encircles the whole dwarf planet, from north to south. This rift system splits continents in half, much as the East African rift system splits nations in half. Rifts on Pluto resemble scars from frozen, growing oceans rather than being signs of continental migration, in contrast to rifts on Earth. It seems from the age of the fissures that the waters cooled quickly after being exposed to the atmosphere. If so, the marine ecosystem will flourish there. The complex organic substance, which has a reddish-brown color, is produced in a laboratory by subjecting it to radiation from sources like cosmic rays and solar wind. Thus, this may occur on a planet such as Pluto. Ammonia may also combine to create molecules that are necessary for life, such the bases in DNA and RNA. Pluto's proximity to red ammonia ice is a significant clue that the dwarf planet may be a rich source of chemical molecules. Though most Earth scientists do not believe that life originated on Pluto, this theory suggests that Earth might survive if life were introduced to it. Look for life. They also resulted in a lot of disputes. The discovery of skyscraper-sized ice blocks in the far east of the near-side startled scientists. The ridges, which may occasionally exceed a mile high, or roughly 3 times the height of the State Department in New York City, are perfectly balanced and raised into the sky like a blade in the original photos returned by the James Webb Space Telescope. They have a maximum range of 19 miles. It would be a nightmare to try to navigate around this region. Although the current map is not very detailed, it is evident that the blade-like soil is present across the area and resurfaces close to the western border. The fact that they travel through 3 times, from Pluto's far side to its near side, makes them one of the planet's biggest mysteries. Transport, however, nobody is certain of how they got started. Methane in the atmosphere is thought to solidify and fall to the Earth, much like frost does. These are probably pieces of degraded methane ice from direct sunshine. The second theory was suggested by several specialists because of the strong ridges, which mirrored smaller-scale Andean patterns. Penitent rock grows in the highlands of South America and reaches just a few meters in height. Since the good-hearted person faces the sun and grows up near to the equator, where solar radiation is highest, it is believed that light plays a part in the creation of bravery. Sunlight is thought to be the driving force behind sublimation, the process of cutting teeth-like grooves into ridges. Climate and topography of dwarf planets. Pluto's past illustrates the strength of human knowledge and our never-ending search for knowledge. In parallel, scientists will update current safety requirements to more accurately represent real-world circumstances. Their goal is to simulate as closely as possible the atmosphere and seas of Pluto in a lab setting. The star will be the direct target of the James Webb Space Telescope. Although Webb is unable to capture high-resolution photographs of Pluto, it is still feasible to observe unexpected objects by using longer wavelengths. Pluto, we now believe, will provide an answer to our age-old query, are we alone? While you're here, don't forget to click on the video on your screen to see more exciting videos about the place.